Okay, so we've fast forwarded quite a bit. We're at the end of Act 3 here. My dancer is in kind of an interesting position. I have unlocked some really good skills, but I haven't been really great about unlocking gems. So I've got a lot of equipment that I want to equip, but I don't have enough gems for almost any of it. So she's been kind of forced to get in here to grab another couple dudes to hopefully unlock some more gems for her character. So this is the Act 5 board, and the Act 5 board is different in that it doesn't have a whole trail that you're going to be traveling along. It just has one spot for each character that they kind of occupy once they move in there. And you'll notice here at the bottom there's a banner for what you summon, but it's not really connected to any of these. So here's how this Act 5 board works. We're going to go ahead and take the move action, and we're going to advance our dancer into her matching space on the board, and then as soon as she moves in, we're going to deal out 5 pairs of level 2 and level 3 demons. Quite powerful indeed. So now what's really interesting about Act 5 is this happened once. This happens when a player comes out here and puts their character on here. The very first one that does that puts all these out. After that, other players on their turn can advance to move into their spaces, but no new demons are dealt. Now, as we continue our turn here on the dancer, after we reveal demons, we're going to take demons. And I'm desperate for blue gems, so unfortunately, although it is not really an optimal play in some ways, I really need... Actually, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab this pair of blue level 2 and a green level 3, and we're going to put those on our board. Now, I've already got a level 3 green, so I've got some tough combats ahead of me. But the other thing to keep in mind is that as soon as the first player lands on this Act 5 board, over here on your achievement track, you should have a little... Well, anyway, you should have set aside 2 more dice on another, what they're called is Divine Intervention tile here. So as soon as the first player lands on Act 5, everyone unlocks 1 more die for their collections, bringing them very likely to 5. If they haven't equipped an item yet, I'm very worried that they're going to be very far behind. So this should bring both characters to 5 dice. Or all characters in the game to 5 dice, and that is the maximum number of dice sans the silver die that you're going to be able to get in the game. So we'll go ahead and add these to our characters now. So there's also no treasure chest on this, and you'll also note here at the top there is 1 more space. This is kind of like the chapel or sanctum space here, and at any point on your turn you may advance into that space, which triggers the end of the game. Now, we're not going to be doing that right now. I've got some fighting to do. The outlaw absolutely has some fighting to do, so we've probably got a couple turns, would be my guess, before we're jumping down there. But let's see what happens. Now, you might be thinking, wow, she looks basically the same as she did before you really went through Act 3, Ron. And you're right. The only thing I really unlocked was this Shadow Dance, which is a very cool power. It allows me to place a focus on top of a space that already has a focus, playing it a second time, which is very powerful. But unfortunately, at this point, I am fairly tapped out. I've only got 1 focus left, and I'm kind of concerned about fighting all 3 of these guys. No, we're not going to risk it. We're going to go ahead and rest first because I don't have any way to defend myself, and I really don't want to be taking these guys do 4 damage each. There's no way for me to kill both of them, so we're going to go ahead and rest first, and then we'll start fighting these guys. So we'll do a rest. We'll go ahead and gain our focus and our stamina back. I don't know that I'm going to be doing any equipping. Let's just take a look here at what we've got. I'll show you guys. You guys can kind of see some of the items in the game here. So we've got the Ice Heart Ring, which is an accessory. It gives us 2 more focus, which is quite cool, but I've only got 2 red gems really to play with here. Acrobat's Shoes. These let you set a die to a specific face, 6 or a 2 in this case. Traveling Boots, not so great. The Emerald Wristband gives us 1 stamina for that accessory slot. We've got the Eyes of the Oracle. These are pretty good. Either type for 2 defense and then set a die to a 6. I like that. Jade Wristband for 1 focus, and this really nice Sun Knight's Vambrace, which is 1 block and 3 stamina, but I do not have the 3 gems I need to equip it. So let's see what we're going to do here. I think this is going to be kind of a wasteful rest, and I'm going to go ahead and just sell a bunch of these for potions. So I'm going to sell these shoes. As much as I like these shoes, I'm just not going to have the blue gems to equip them. I'm going to sell this Jade Wristband, and I'm going to sell this Emerald Wristband. So that's 3 items that I'm going to sell, which will fill up my potion slots. And I'm going to go ahead and get 3 blue potions, and you really do want to go into the final showdown with the Demon Lord full on potions if you can. Note that you will absolutely get an opportunity to gain more potions before you have to fight the Demon Lord, but just something to keep in mind. Potions are very useful for allowing you to continue to have fights. All right, and our rest is complete. Okay, and now we're ready to fight. We're all rested up. I can use all of my actions or my abilities again. So let's go ahead and do a fight with these guys. Now, I don't think there's any way we're going to be able to kill them since they require a total of, well, 8 dice, and I've only got 5. But hopefully we'll be able to kill one of the 3s and one of the 2s, and then we'll fight the next one after that. So let's go ahead and roll. All right. And we got some pretty good rolls here. I'm just going to move this back. And you guys can't really see those dice. Maybe that makes it a little easier. We got a 6, a 4, a 4, a 5, and a 3. So I think my priority right now is I'm actually wanting to get this green weapon unlocked because I would like to have a non-blue weapon. So let's see. We'll go ahead and put this 5 on there. That. We'll grab this 4. And this 3, and we'll outright defeat this dude, which is going to get us a couple much needed blue gems. And now we just need to figure out how to get this 6 and this 4 to be a 2 and a 1. So let's go ahead and we'll subtract 3 from this guy to make it a 1. And then we will, remember, because of Shadow Dance, we can use the same ability space twice. So we'll subtract 3 from this 6, making it a 3. And then we'll go ahead and use this guy right here. We'll subtract 1 from it to make that a 2. And we'll defeat this guy right here. Now, unfortunately, we are taking 4 damage from this guy, which is not good news. We can block 3 of it, just like that. But unfortunately, well, you know what? I don't want to take the damage, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this. We'll probably end up resting again. We're going kind of slow here, but I don't want to take any damage. So I prevent 4 of his damage, taking none of it, and now we can gain items and levels. So let's take a look at this green weapon we got here. I'm very hopeful. Oh, this is fantastic for the dancer because these are pluses or minuses, which basically means we get to set 2 dice just to any number we want, and because they're blue we can use them twice thanks to Shadow Dance. This is a huge boost for us. So we're going to go ahead and grab that, and I need green dice to equip it, so I'm just going to move 1, 2, sorry, we need green gems to equip it, so I'm going to go ahead and do those 3, which is going to unlock Cloak Armor. Cloak Armor is pretty cool. It goes in this slot right here. Every character has one of their skill cards that actually goes in the slot right here. And for the dancer, this is pretty cool. I can put a blue, I can put a focus on here to block, and then I can actually, during the attack step, I can use a focus from this block onto a different thing, allowing me to play it here to block and then play it again somewhere else to modify the dice or whatever I want to do. So very cool. I'm going to go ahead and equip that Cloak Armor right here. Next, we're going to go ahead and defeat this guy, so we'll go ahead and take the 2 dice off of there. We're going to gain 2 blue gems. I really need blue gems, so we're going to pull both those up there. And then we got some blue suede shoes, some Sandstrider slippers that allow us to set a die to a 1, a die to a 5, and then any type for a single block. Lots of good cards here. So it's going to be a really difficult next rest when I decide it's time to rest up. Now, in the span of just a single turn, we went from not having very many gems at all to having a ton of gems to use to equip, and I have a bunch of items, so I'm going to do some noodling and figure out what's the best setup here in terms of equipping all of this stuff. Okay, well, I noodled quite a bit, and I think this is the best case that I can come up with right now for the best build for this character. I'm not sure if it's coming across in the video, I hope it is, but this is very much a very challenging, interesting puzzle of figuring out how to spend your gems, which equipment to equip. Obviously, I've got lots of good stuff over here that I am not using. I prioritized getting this silence out because I think it's very powerful. I also upgraded my shoes and my hat, so I have quite a few abilities that let me just set a die specific to a specific side, 1, 5, 6, and another 6 actually. These 2 here are set to anything, and then this sun brace, or this van brace is pretty cool. It's got 1 defensive slot and it gives me 3 more stamina, which I can spend on some of these purples in order to defend, etc. So I'm hoping that this will work out for me. I am going to fight this guy before we do the final boss. I think maybe I should have rested instead of, or sorry, I should have fought him instead of resting. I should have fought him, spent a bunch of potions, then rested, because then I'd have a few more gems. Now I'm going to be a little behind, and you might see why that matters in just a moment. But anyway, here's the results of my rest. I've got everything back, I've got everything equipped, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. I did not buy any potions because I'm already full on potions, and my total maximum level here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The top achievement is for 10, so I do get this achievement for having so much cool equipment on, which is nice. Okay, I think this is going to work out okay based on what our outlaw's done. Our outlaw has now joined us up here. He's done some fighting. He's quite built out. He's got all of his skills unlocked. He's looking pretty good, but I'm not giving up on our dancer. I think she's going to do great. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and fight this demon. I'm not concerned about this fight at all. We've got 5 dice, so we're just going to go ahead and see what happens here. All right, so we got 4 5s, a 2, and a 3. Sorry, 3 5s, a 3, and a 2. So we'll go ahead and take this 2 first of all, and we'll place this right here. And then we're gonna, let's see, we need a 2 and a 6. So let's use this guy right here. And we'll set 1 die to a 6. We'll just change one of these to a 6 right here. Gosh. It is a little fiddly with all the little tokens and stuff moving around. It can be, you got to be very careful. Of course, it's a little easier without a camera in front of you probably, but yeah, there is definitely a lot of little moving pieces here, and it's really important that you pay attention to what's going on your board and that everything is accurate. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 from this 3 to make it a 2, and we easily defeat this last green level 3 demon. So he's going to give us 3 green levels, which we're going to do. One of them we're going to move Faint up because I really want Faint unlocked. It's our access to our silver die. And what's really cool about Faint is I always get to roll it, but I can only use it if it's been modified, which is really neat. It's kind of interesting. It really fits in with the dancer's flavor. In my opinion, it's one of the easiest. All of the silver dice have a special thing that you have to use or do in order to pull it off. For example, the outlaw, you can set the blue die or the silver die to whatever you want, but you have to spend a potion and you do it before the combat starts. This one's pretty easy to pull off, but they're all very useful. They're definitely worth unlocking. So that's 1 green, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm actually going to move this up 1, 2. So we get 1 more clear, and we do unlock this guy, which gives us an extra stamina. I would love to have gotten this extra focus, but it's just not going to happen, I don't think. So we do get an extra stamina, which is nice, and now we are done with our last combat. Well, our last normal combat anyway. So you're actually going to get to see an outlaw turn here because he's next, and he is going to move up here and answer the call to arms. So he's going to move in here, which triggers the end of the game. We're going to discard the rest of these demons, only because that's not part of that action. It's just because everybody else is already in Act 5, so we don't need to worry about these demons anymore. So I'm just going to get them off the board so that you can see everything. Now, once a player answers the call to arms, the first thing that you need to do is get out your Demon Lord cards, which look like this. They have a very friendly face on them. We've already shuffled them, and we're going to deal 2 out in front of the person who answered the call to arms, like so. 1, 2. Now these are just going to be sitting out there, and these are a promise of a threat, right? They're a promise of danger to come. And this is an interesting timer mechanic that basically, as soon as someone moves here, the end of the game has been triggered, but you have a couple rounds to get there in case you're behind and still doing things. So, for example, now that our outlaw is gone, he's basically done. He's finished with his action, and he's answered the call to arms, and he's called everyone else forward. So at this point, the call to arms has been issued and the end of the game has been triggered. And after this player's turn is complete, which by the way, all they're going to do is place their miniature, place out those 2 cards, and their turn is done, everyone gets another normal turn. If the dancer, in this case, decided to move up, she would at this point place her miniature right next to the other miniature, and she would answer the call to arms. In our 2-player game, the game would now move to Act 6. If it was 3- or 4-player game, it would continue around the table. Now, if instead the dancer needed to do something else, for example, take a rest or do some fighting or something along those lines, then she would do her turn, and when it comes back around to the player's turn who moved up here and did the call to arms first, a demon card would be dealt below them, like so. Now then, it would go back to me and I'd have another opportunity. I could either answer the call to arms, but now I move myself up next to this card, or I could stay here and take more actions if I need to. If I do that, when it comes back around to this player, another Demon Lord card comes out. So there's now 4 on the board. And now my only option at this point is to answer the call to arms. But when I do, I'm placed right here next to this card. Now, my dancer is actually going to go ahead and answer the call to arms immediately, moving right up here. So once all of the players have answered the call to arms, there is one more rest that every character gets to take. So everybody gets a free rest action to recover all their stuff, equip their best items, and sell their potions, or sell their items for potions. So let's do that real quick and then we'll come back. I think this is going to be a very straightforward rest for our dancer. I'm just going to unuse a couple of these focus here. I don't have any stamina in use, and I have 1 white gem. I don't think that's enough to really merit equipping anything new. I did get this really nice armor, 5 defense for 2 reds, and then 2 defense here. I feel like I'm really going to want to have that, but I'm not sure if I can pull off not having the silence equipped, because that is really good. So I'm going to think about this and then I'll come right back. Okay, yeah, so I've thought about it. I think I'm just going to leave this the way it is. Hopefully this will work out okay for us. So we're ready to go. The outlaw has finished his rest, and now we can begin the final act of the game. Now then, the first part of Act 6 of the game is the Demon Lord shakes with carnage and does a whole bunch of damage to the city of Sanctum and all the heroes that have arrived, depending on when they arrived. So if you show up in the first round after the call to arms happens, these 2 top cards are going to affect you. If, like I had shown you earlier, you'd shown up in the second round, then I would have to deal with both these cards as well as this card. And if I showed up in the last round, I'd have 4 Demon Lord cards to deal with. Luckily, I showed up in the same round, so these weren't even dealt because the final phase basically began as soon as both of us were up here and we finished our rest. Now, the next thing you need to do is flip over these 2 demon cards one at a time and have everyone interact or deal with them, essentially. So we'll flip this one over, and they're all going to be basically the same in terms of mechanics here. So in this case, Life Leech. Shorten your health track by 2 or take 1 wound. Now, this is the actual health tracker. This isn't a damage that you can block. This is just going to drop your hearts by 1. And shorten your health track means that you're actually going to make it so that instead of dying when you get to 0, you'll die when you get to 2 instead. So, interesting choice. The dancer is going to go ahead and shorten her health track by 2, and the outlaw is going to do the same. And the way that you can do that is just take one of these hit tokens and go ahead and place that 2 spaces up on your death track, so that now you know that you die essentially once you have 2 health. Next one here is Firewall. Corrupt 1 blue ability space or take 1 damage. Again, this is to your victory point tracker, essentially your actual health pool. You can't block this. Corrupt an ability space means you take one of these hit markers and you choose one of your ability spaces, in this case a blue one, and you place it on there and it cannot be used again. Now, corrupting 1 blue ability space isn't too bad, so I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these markers here and we'll just go ahead and cover up. I think what I'm going to do is actually one of these 6s here, because I've already got one and I can use it twice thanks to Shadow Dance. This one is corrupted, so even though it's got a thing in here and my Shadow Dance lets me use an ability twice, it's only if it can hold 2 focus. This corruption means it can't be used, period. So I can't Shadow Dance or anything like that. So this is gone, which is not great. So now that we've resolved both those cards, we're ready to step into Act 6 proper and begin our fight with the Demon Lord. So what the rulebook says is you can actually wipe all of your skills off if you want to. You don't need any more gems or anything like that. This is basically your setup for the rest of the game. You can do that if you want. I'm not too worried about it. It's not going to get in our way, but you do want to clear out all of the space along the top because you're going to be creating your fight with the Demon Lord up here. And the way that you do that is you're going to go ahead and you want to take those Fury cards that we shuffled earlier, as well as the Demon Lord cards that we've been dealing from, and you're going to deal them out on your player board, alternating until you have 9 total cards. So you're going to have 5 Demon Lord cards and 4 of these Fury cards. So just something like this. It basically takes up the entirety of the top part of your player board, and now you have a track for fighting the Demon Lord. The last thing you want to do is go ahead and take your miniature off the game board and place it on the very first card of this track. And now you're set up and ready to begin fighting the Demon Lord. The other thing you want to do is go ahead and get all of your blessings, that's these things that you earned, the achievements that you earned throughout the game, out. I will go ahead and wipe these off just so I have room to place everything. So we can put these out and have them available to me. I got 5 different ones. A lot of them are defense. That's actually probably going to help us a lot, because fighting the Demon Lord starts off very difficult and becomes narrower as you get towards the top, but it's still very challenging. So let's go ahead and get started. Fighting the Demon Lord works just like fighting a normal demon, except you have to do it over several rounds, and he hits you a lot harder than any demon that you fought before. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just gather our dice, just like we do for a normal combat. So I'm going to grab my 5 dice that I've had since the beginning here, and I'm going to go ahead and use my feint die as well. It has no prerequisite. It just says before the roll, I must use it, and then if I modify it, I can actually place it on a card. So I've got 6 dice. I don't have any damage or anything like that. I haven't used any of my ability tokens, so I'm not going to bother with any potions. We're just going to roll these dice, and we'll see what happens. I'm just going to roll them down here. Hopefully, of course, one of them fell. All right, so here is our first roll. Now this is my silver one, so I'm just going to set that over here so that those are easily distinguished. We have to modify that before we can use it. Now then, you can see here the card that we're on has a 2 and a 5 on it. And what you're going to be doing as you're fighting the Demon Lord is essentially moving down this track, dealing with each card in order. And once you finish dealing with this card right here, you've defeated the Demon Lord. He is going to be attacking you, and if you take enough damage to where you hit, in our case here, here's our health at the bottom of our health pool. If you hit that point, you are dead and you're out of the game. Well, you might be able to win if everyone dies, but I think at this point, let's keep positive. So in this case, I've got a 2 and a 5. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this 2 right here, and I'm going to place that right there. And then I'm going to use one of my abilities. I'm going to use this one that sets a die to a 5. And I'm going to go ahead and use that actually on my silver die, just so we can use it and get it out there. So now we've defeated this card. Because this card is defeated, we immediately have to move to the next card. And these Fury cards don't have anything on the back, so we're going to flip them over and see what's on it. So this one says Shriek. Only modified dice can be placed on this card this fight, or I take 1 damage directly here. And you can see now on the flip side of this card, there are more dice that I need to fulfill. These cards always have 2 or 3. This section right here you do as soon as you place your miniature on the card, which is basically as soon as you move on to it. This is going to flip over and this effect is going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and say that only modified die can be placed because I have lots of focus and I'm cool with spending I'm cool with spending some focus on getting this thing figured out. So we'll go ahead and place that back down. We'll place this right here, and I have to modify any dice to play. So I've got a 4 already, but like I just decided, I can't place that. So let's go ahead and start spending some focus. We're going to go ahead and take this guy right here, and let's see. I've got a 2 and a 4. So we'll go ahead and subtract 1 right here, making this a 2. We'll put that right there. And then we'll go ahead and do a +1, and we'll make this guy right here a 4. And now we've defeated that card as well. And we're pretty well set up for the next card. Again, as soon as you defeat everything on a card, you move to the next card in order. So in this case, we're going to move right here, and now we have a 2 and a 5 we got to do. We've only got a 1 and a 4. I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and use this guy right here. We'll go ahead and because of our shadow dance, we can place this on top of that plus or minus 1. We'll add 1 to our 1 to make it a 2. And then I'm basically going to do the same thing on this -1. Because we don't care about pluses and minuses, and because we can place on top, we're going to use that -1 to actually add 1 to this 4, making it a 5. And we've had a very good first turn. We were able to defeat all of the cards. Now, even though I'm out of dice, I still have to move to the next card because I've defeated this one. So we flip over this Fury card, and this one says Tail Swipe. For this fight, lose 1 die not yet assigned. Well, that's great. I don't have to lose any die. Well, I guess I can't. I'm guessing I have to fulfill this or do this. I can't say, well, I'm going to lose 1 die not assigned because I don't have one. So we're going to lose 1 hit point, which is not great. And this one actually requires 3 dice for us to get past, so pretty challenging. Now, at this point, we're done with the attack phase of our fight, and we're at the block step, but we need to figure out how much damage he does. This is where the Demon Lord gets real crazy. He is going to do 1 damage for every blood droplet that's in front of us, including the card we're on. It might be a little hard to see, but there's actually 2 on each of these Demon Lord cards, so he's going to attack us for 1, 3, 5, 7 damage. That is a huge first swing. So we're going to go ahead and block 3 of that. And then we're going to use all of these, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're just gonna spend all of these tokens right out the gate. And remember, these are one-time use, so as soon as I use them, they are gone. But that saved us from taking any damage, so we haven't taken any damage. Now, what's interesting about the Demon Lord fight is that all of this can happen simultaneously. Every player can play on their own and get as far as they can. You're not going to be swapping back and forth because there's nothing changing between your combat actions. So at this point, we don't gain items and levels because the Demon Lord doesn't give us any items or levels. We're just going to jump right back to the beginning of the fight. And the very first thing we're going to do is I'm going to spend all 4 of our potions here to gain 3 focus back and 1 stamina back, just like that. And now we are sort of out of resources, and we got to just hope for the best, hope we can survive and get through this. Of course, we're going to get all these back. One thing to keep in mind is if I had, for example, done one of these, just like when you're fighting a normal demon, you'd put a hit token on there, one of these gray guys, to indicate that you have beaten that one particular die. You don't have to do it again. But that's not the case for us. We just get all of our dice back. Our silver die goes back on feint, but with the way feint works, we're always going to have it, so we're going to be rolling 6 dice again, and we're on tail swipe. Oh my gosh, I have rolled 5 1s. 5 1s and a 4. That is a very bad roll. Luckily, we ignore pluses and minuses, and we can reuse things, so essentially we're going to go ahead and, well, let's see. First, we'll go ahead and make one of these a 6. We'll make one of these ones a 6. With that guy, we got a 3 and a 5. We're going to go ahead and just use one of these. Now remember, I can use this as a plus or minus, and it's set it to any number. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 to one of our ones to make it a 3. And then I'm going to take this guy, and we're going to put it right there, and we're going to add 4 to one of our ones to make it a 5. Whew, defeating that card handily, barely. You decide. Now we get to move to the next card. This card is a 3 and a 5. Let's use our last blessing here on one of these ones to make it a 3. And then I've got it off the board here, but I do have my rage token. I'm going to flip that over and turn this, we'll modify our feint die into a 5 so that we can actually place it. And we're going to really hope that this card here has a 4 on it. We're going to move to the next card, flip it over. Evil Eye. Lose 1 stamina or 1 focus. Or we take 1 damage. Now when it says lose, what that means is you permanently lose it. So I'm going to take one of our stamina, and it's just off our board. It's gone. That's not too bad. We don't have a lot of uses for our stamina, and we're getting a little further down the fight, so we don't have to defend quite as hard. And lucky us, there is a 4 right there. So we can do that. Now at the end, we'll take a hit marker, we'll place it right there. We'll get our dice back. Oh, no. We're going to mark that that's been hit, but first we got to take damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more damage is coming at us. Let's see if we can block it. Now I can't use this again because only one of the spaces is open, but I can go ahead and block here. That blocks 2, so now we're only dealing with 3 damage. 2 damage, 1 damage. So we are going to take 1, and I'm very low on ability tokens here, which means now it's just going to be rolling dice and crossing our fingers. All right, so that ends the combat round, and we jump once again straight back into another combat round. We'll go ahead and set our silver die over here. It is going to activate because it always activates. We'll roll them up, and let's hope that we get. This is a little better. It's a little more diverse at least. We have a 1 here, so we'll go ahead and place that. And unfortunately, I am out of tokens. I don't have any potions. And I have no way to modify any more of these dice, which means I cannot defeat this card, even though I have all these dice out here. I can't defeat it. Which means I'm going to be taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. I can block, none of it. So we're going to be taking 5 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh boy, we are very nearly dead. This is not good. We'll go ahead and mark this as hit. We're going to use our feint die because we always use our feint die. We got to get a 2 or we're absolutely in trouble. Okay, good news. We got a 2, so this card is defeated. And now we move to this card. We did well. We've got a 5 and a 6. So we defeat that card and we move on to this one. Flame Blast. Pay for 1 ability space, ignoring its effect, or take 2 damage. Well, I've got 1 red, but I can't put it on any ability space, so unfortunately, our dancer is dead. Well guys, unfortunately I have made a mistake and it's going to take a lot of work to go back, so I'm just going to show you what it was. Our dancer died, and this would have just probably meant that they would have died a little sooner. But in between each round of combat, the Demon Lord roars. So once everyone's done 1 round of combat, we take 2 Demon Lord cards. That's these guys with the angry faces here. And we place them at the bottom of the Demon Lord tile, sort of creating the beginning, the foundation of a pyramid. And then we would flip both of them over and resolve their effects for everybody in the group. Every single player would have to deal with both effects. And then we would do another round. And then after that, we would deal another card on top. Completing the pyramid, we would deal with that card. And then he wouldn't roar anymore after that. And what's actually really interesting is that's like a difficulty setting. So if you want to play a harder game, the base could be 3, and then 2, and then 1. Or you could even do 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, which I can't even imagine. We died on the easiest difficulty setting. Although part of that was just some bad luck and not enough focus to be able to use all of our abilities. Anyway, I apologize about missing that. Not that it would have mattered too much. I think I would have probably just died a little bit sooner. But anyway, just keep that in mind. You do a round of combat, and then you reveal 2 of these. Everybody gets affected by them. You do 1 more round of combat, and you reveal 1, and everybody's affected by that one. And then after that, people just continue to do their rounds until everyone's either defeated the Demon Lord or is dead. Well, our outlaw fared a little better, but he died on the very last turn. He had a 2, he needed a 1. I have no more things to spend. And he does 2 damage, and unfortunately I only had 1 red token left, which I was able to block 1 of it, which drops him. You can see here his health. He also had his minimum brought up, so his health matches his minimum, which means he is dead. But because they both died, whoever gets farther along this track is the winner. So the outlaw, the character you did not see the entire game, is actually the winner, and our dancer here is in 2nd place. Now, if all players had been able to kill the Demon Lord, then the winner would be the person who had the most health remaining. If there were 2 people that were tied, the winner is whoever had the most achievements. Alright guys, well that's going to be it for Sanctum. That's our gameplay video. Walked you through the whole game. We skipped about half of it as the dancer went out and did her own thing, and of course I didn't show you much of the outlaw. Part of the joy of this game is the fact that all of the characters play very differently. The outlaw is all about potions and tossing potions as bombs and can do some interesting manipulation with his dice. And of course the dancer is all about being able to use those blue abilities multiple times, and that plus or minus card are a really big thing. But what's really cool is that you can play the game multiple times playing the same character, and depending on what equipment you get and which skills you choose to unlock and when can really impact how the game plays. So I think this game has a ton of replayability. I do think that it's kind of interesting that it's competitive because it's primarily multiplayer solitaire. I only showed you 1 character, and there were only a handful of times, if maybe once or twice, where there was any sort of interaction, which would basically just mean maybe when there was a treasure chest, the outlaw took an item that the dancer might have wanted, or the dancer was actually trying to pressure the outlaw by getting far ahead, but then had kind of a bum roll early in the middle of, or at the very beginning of Act 3, which really slowed her down. So it just kind of interesting, but there's not a lot of interaction, and I really wish this had just been a cooperative game, to be honest. It would be really cool if all of your characters had to work together to defeat the demon. There may be some way to do that, although I don't really like coming up with homebrew things, just because then you miss the design of the game. This game was obviously very carefully designed. I just think that the competitive nature of it is a little weird, considering that everything else feels very cooperative or solitaire, and it would be so cool to have everybody's characters working together to defeat the demon lord at the end. Maybe somebody can come up with a cool cooperative variant, or if they decided to expand this game, a cooperative demon or something like that you have to fight would be, in my opinion, the best thing to add to the game. Overall, though, I think Sanctum is really fun. I think these parts here where you're kind of building your equipment out, figuring out how your gems all line up, unlocking skills, picking demons to add, it's all very interesting. They're all really fun decisions to be made, and overall, just a really enjoyable game, a really fun Euro-style game, really heavy strategy game, not heavy, really solid strategy game with such a fun theme that I think is very well executed. It very much feels like you're out as an outlaw or as a dancer or whatever in this demonic world, fighting all these demons, leveling up. I think it's really neat. A great marriage of theme and mechanics. I hope this playthrough was helpful to you, whether you've picked up the game and you don't know how to play, or you're researching the game and you just want to see how it plays, what it looks like on the table. There's certainly a lot of fiddliness. That's probably the only other real drawback, although it's so fun manipulating these things and moving them around, so maybe it's okay. But yeah, that's kind of the goal for this series, was show you this game, show you how it plays, show you what it looks like on the table. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, definitely subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be going through lots of dungeon crawl games. There's plenty out there to look at, and I have lots of fun games already and games on my wish list that I'd like to get and show you guys. I'm having a ton of fun showing you how these different games work. If you have any comments or feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. Leave me a comment. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and like I said, please subscribe. I'm really enjoying watching this little community grow, and I'd love to have you as part of it. So anyway, thank you so much, and until next time, I hope you guys are able to just fill these boards with level 3 loot items. Take care.